The Manhwa opens in the Grandizon Empire, where whispers fill the air about the Duke's daughter, who has once again stirred up scandal. One onlooker murmurs, asking whether she poured wine over another lady's head simply because they wore matching gowns, or perhaps squandered her family's fortune once more. Another adds that the matter is serious this time. At the most recent ball, the prince's partner had been the daughter of Marchioness Clement, and that very girl collapsed from a mysterious illness. A maid wonders aloud if the Duke's daughter could be responsible. Another immediately affirms it, claiming it's obvious. After all, the young lady has always been unhealthily fixated on the prince. Just then, the atmosphere changes. A man strides in, and the maids quickly bow. It's the Duke himself. Without hesitation, he storms into a nearby room, calling out sharply, "Isabella." A blonde young woman turns toward him, his only daughter. The Duke's fury flares, and he slaps her across the face. He bellows that she has finally dragged the family's name through the mud. Accusing her of targeting the Marchioness's daughter, he rages that the entire capital is now buzzing with gossip. He demands to know what excuse she plans to make this time, reminding her how lenient he has been for her late mother's sake, but asks if she plans to continue disgracing them. She grits her teeth and questions how dare he. She then hits him back in a flash. He is left speechless as all the servants also cover their mouths in disbelief. Our female lead stares at her hand and then questions why. Her dad still looks back at her with astonishment. Our female lead then wonders why her hands hurt. We are then shown the demon realm where all the devils live. Over there, 9 demons possess the power, and are referred to as the monarchs of the demon realm. Among them, our other female lead was the contract monarch, who possessed the power to make contracts, and had also managed to receive the demon king's favor, and was a figure of great authority in the demon realm. Or so she should have been. This demon then wonders about the state she's in right now. She then asks the human father what he has done to her and questions if he wants to die. She tells him if that's his wish then she can grant it right now. As she tries to do so, magic then appears around her heart, and she stops in her tracks. She then covers her mouth. Red liquid then drops to the floor. Isabella then falls to her knees as her father rushes over. He yells to call a physician as the girl wonders what is this situation. Later in a room, someone wonders what is up with these pale and weak hands, and also this useless thin and long blonde hair. They mention how annoying it is as someone then calls the young lady. A maid appears and tells her to wait just a moment as she'll braid it for the lady. A physician then starts to check her using medical tools. She tells the human to get that away from her as it's disgusting. The physician says not at all, and tells the young lady to bear with it as it will be quick. Our female lead just notes how if word gets out that she was examined by a human then she'd be the laughingstock for 1,000 years. A maid asks why the young lady was coughing up blood, to which the doctor says nothing stands out in his assessment apart from her being a little drained. The maid suggests the warrior duke's hit may have caused internal injuries. Our female lead thinks that is nonsense. At that time, she tried to use her magic to deal with that insolent human. But someone has carved a magic circle into her soul, and if she tries to use magic, then that magic circle will shatter her soul. She clenches her fist and holds it to her chest. She notes how a normal being cannot possibly do something like this, and if there was someone who could, it would be the monarch of domination. He's the one with the greatest powers amongst the monarchs, and he's got that serious and reserved personality. She often felt uncomfortable as he would look at her with contempt. Or it could have been the monarch of dreams, Annette. A while back, she lost a card game and was forced to give our main character her favorite villa. She wonders if Annette finally noticed she was cheating with the cards then. This magic circle could have also been the work of Villainess, the monarch of lust. This body also seems to be his type after all. The doctor then concludes that there are no major health issues and that the young lady will be fine in a few days. The maid insists this is impossible and how she coughed up way too much blood. The doctor tells Jessie there really is nothing wrong and tells her to come closer so he can say something. He then questions how the lady's mental state is, to which Jessie says she does not know why the lady's speech has suddenly changed. Our female lead notes how she can hear all this, and how despite entering a human body, she's still acting too much like her demon self. It'd be a problem if her identity got exposed. Jessie then mentions how the lady was always eccentric and how she might be faking amnesia this time. The doctor notes how this is something often seen in those reincarnation novels and how she used this excuse last month. Jessie says it was terminal illness, and amnesia was 3 months ago. The doctor pities Jessie, to which Jessie says not at all, and she loves serving the young lady, even if it gets confusing. Our female lead then starts to wonder what kind of person the owner of this body was. Later someone tells her about how this body belongs to Isabella Ducal and she's a duke's daughter. She picks at a flower, as she then tells the other person to continue explaining. She crushes the flower as she notes how this body's owner has the same name, and how if it's a coincidence then it's quite unpleasant. The maid mentions how the people currently have a bad perception of the young lady. Isabella then asks the maid how many people this body has killed then. The maid points to her that the lady really is not in the right state of mind right now. Isabella questions how she is a villainess if she has yet to slain one person. She is later seen questioning how she's been labeled a villainess for merely pouring wine on people and slapping a few faces. She had thought it'd be much worse. We later see maids whispering in the background before then running off. Jessie says she does not think it's the lady's fault she's called a villainess. She mentions how the lady was once an angel up until the Duchess had died. After giving birth, the Duchess's health would decline rapidly and that she was 5 when the Duchess passed. The Duke had a hard time since the young lady looked so much like the Duchess and would avoid her. Jessie also mentions how the young master was also sad and did not take care of Isabella. Isabella then questions if there is a sibling. The maid says yes and how he's 3 years older and named Gabriel. Our female lead then notes how that's the name of another disgusting angel. She questions the maid on this, to which the maid mentions how the Duchess was very devout. Our female lead notes how humans really have mid-taste. The maid then mentions how the lady should go inside as someone then arrives. It's Gabriel who asks if she threw up blood. The maid standing there bows to the young Duke. He pokes her head as he asks if she is going to answer him. He asks what kind of act she's pulling this time and how she has many ways of getting attention. He mentions how she causes trouble every day and asks how long she's going to keep acting pathetic. She then looks up at him with glare. She grabs his hand and mentions how she's been patient, but it's been one brat after another that does not value their own life. She recalls how if she were to use her demonic power now she'd not make it. She proceeds to cough all over her brother. He yells no way and asks if she really just did all that. Our female lead then holds her mouth as she says not this again. She then asks him what is up with that look on his face. The maid calls for her as she notes how she made the same mistake again. The maid wonders what to do as Isabella says it is nothing. Gabriel asks if Isabella was actually sick and how he did not believe her when she said there are internal injuries. He asks if it hurts and since when. She asks why he is curious, to which he says of course, and then pauses. Isabella wonders if humans worry about those they despise, and how this would be unthinkable for a demon. She notes how she'd have been laughing if that lust demon started coughing like this. Just thinking about that is somewhat refreshing. Gabriel questions why she is smiling. He tells her to accept the treatment already and how he can use his authority to call a priest. She tells him she's not in pain and notes how a priest could lead to her getting exposed. Gabriel asks if she is protesting right now and trying to get their attention this way. She asks why she'd need his attention. She tells him to keep the attitude and that she'd rather they keep their distance. He is stunned by this statement. He then turns, noting how he's the fool and idiot then. Why would he call a peace for someone nasty like her? He then says he's leading in to not try and stop him. She does not try whatsoever. He then stops to think, noting how Isabella was quite scary just now. She notes how this guy is a simpleton and she'll call him Gabby from now on. She thinks about how he cares so little that he can't tell his sister's soul got swapped. She then starts to see some magic gathering near her finger. She notes how a minuscule amount of her demon power has returned and wonders how. The Duke later asks if the doctor does not know the cause of his daughter's internal injury. The doctor says that is the case. The Duke calls this absurd. He mentions how he'll give her points for persistence, but her acting has improved day by day. The doctor says he cannot find the cause, but he does think something's wrong. The Duke then tells the doctor he trusts him and that if he cannot find a cause then there was no issue that existed in the first place. The doctor says the blood was real and how they need the temple's help. The Duke says this is not an option. Isabella once went around claiming she was a saint. The temple shudders at the mere mention of her name. In any case, the girl has gotten attention, so she's probably satisfied by now. The doctor can now leave. He agrees to this, as the Duke then notes how his daughter never ceases to disappoint him. He wonders when on earth she'll come back to her senses. The maid later lights a match to turn on the candle. It flickers for a moment before then going out in an instant. The maid finds this strange and wonders why this keeps happening. She needs this light on so she can go check on the lady. The lady is watching all this from her room. Isabella apologizes internally, noting how the maids are going to need to fail a dozen more times as Isabella needs alone time to collect her thoughts. Her powers have returned, but only by this much. Compared to her original power, this is only a bat's claw of it. But how did it return in the first place? There were too many people around her before, so she never got the chance to read the magic circle. She'll use this opportunity to do so. Her eyes then open, as we then see her demon self, who has quite the nice pair of personalities. She notes how the magic circle is a sealing circle that traps her demonic energy and soul inside of Isabella's body. She reaches out to touch it, and notes how it's not a simple circle either. They combined a sealing circle with a contract circle. The existence of the contract circle is proof that this pact was made by a demon. When a demon makes contracts, her authority as the Lord of Contracts is required. The parties of the contract are bound by the power of her authority, and only then can the contract be fulfilled. Therefore his human Isabella must have made a contract with some demon. Once a contract is established, then the demon must grant the human's wish, and if the contract is broken, then the demon will face immediate annihilation or a comparable price. Our female lead wonders how she got entangled in a contract that makes her unable to move. She wonders the reason her demonic energy was sealed. In any case, she's going to need to break this seal, regain her energy, and return to her original body. The seal breaks once the demon who made a contract with Isabella grants the girl's wish, meaning our female lead needs to fulfill the contract herself. There is something she's going to need to find out first: Isabella's wish. She notes how a troublesome task has been pushed on her and how she does not know who this girl is, but when she finds Isabella, she's going to separate her head from her body. Jessie the maid then arrives saying the whole box of matches is defective. The maid then notes how the lady is weirdly smiling again. The lady then turns to Jessie in a flash as the maid says she was not thinking anything disrespectful. The lady then says she wants to see Father and Gabby. She notes how some powers returned after running into Gabby, so there's a high probability that Isabella's wish is family related. She has a rough idea of the way forward but needs to confront the family directly. She notes how each and every day she gets tired of this. We are then shown a short diagram of how demon contracts are done. You make a wish and give your soul in return. Then a contract is written. If the contract fails, the demon pieces out. If it was successful, then the demon will collect your soul once you die. Isabella orders the maid to lead her to the family. The maid informs her they're having dinner on the first floor. The maid mentions how her dinner was brought here as usual, but our female lead starts to move. She questions why she's being served greens that belong to a rabbit and then tells the maid to lead her to the dining room at once. The maid says the lady should change her clothes first, to which Isabella calls this annoying. We later see the pair walking down the halls. She angrily notes how she's being forced to socialize with humans like this. 500 years ago, we can see her brushing her hair. Since that one contract, she had sworn to never get entangled with humans ever again. She then notes how that human's lifespan was less than 100 years. So, since 500 years have passed, there would be no traces left of him. We later see her storming into a room. Her father and brother are just casually enjoying their meals. They call to her as she walks right over. Her father notes how this is the dining room and asks her what is wrong. She stares at their plates of food and notes how presumptuous they are. They had only given her greens while they ate meat with one another. She orders him to give her meat as well. The Duke says she used to make a fuss about fasting and questions the language she is using right now. Gabby then yells how his sister wants to eat meat, and how as the Duke he must have more than enough food to feed her. He orders the chefs to bring out steaks of all levels of doneness. Her father is left stunned as Isabella wonders why he is acting like this. We later see many types of dishes on the table as our demon starts to drool at it. She raises her knife up and then grabs a piece of meat with it. She then starts to go to town as her family watches. Her dad says to wait and asks what kind of etiquette is that. He mentions how she forgot how to eat and how she regrets to being an infant. Our female lead continues to eat in silence. Gabby says to leave her alone and to now nag a child that is eating. The Duke questions how dare he act like this, to which Gabby asks when has the Duke ever acted like a father. Isabella notes how the pair seem to not get along, and how this is not a proper family. The Duke asks if he cannot question his children's actions, to which Gabby says he needs to act like a dad to be treated like one. She takes a sip of wine to this. She notes how there's only 2 children and both of them act like this. She recalls how demons born in hellfire do not have biological parents, but there is a being they consider father, the demon god. She can still remember her last moments with the demon god. He was yelling, "How dare you, Isabella?" She mentions to him how he was the one that taught her to do anything so she can get what she wants. She tells him to just give up and be sealed away. He lets out a cry, as he mentions how the family business is a failure. Our female lead then notes how she remembers something now. She starts to speak out loud, as her father turns his head. He asks his daughter what she just said. She tells them the family business is a failure. She points at the Duke and says it is a complete failure. He is left stunned as Gabby starts to giggle in the background. He then calls to her in rage. He says she has truly gone mad as Gabby says to stop yelling. Gabby mentions it's not wrong and questions when the old man has given his kids attention. The Duke is left stunned as both his children have now teamed up against him. The Duke then covers his face as an aide rushes to him. Gabby then calls to Isabella. He mentions how she usually does not like fattening foods and would never eat meat. He asks what is the matter, as she tells him she cannot manage that anymore. He asks what she means, to which she says it's exactly as it sounds. She thinks about how she does not know when she'll be back in the demon realm, but that she's eating while she can, and to bring meat from now on every day. Her brother is left stunned by this. He asks if she is serious before then yelling for the chef again. He tells them to bring all the meat in the kitchen and to go slaughter some more cows and sheep. The chef nervously says yes, sir. Our female lead notes how Gabby was so arrogant when they first met, but now he's saying a lot of clever things. She notes how even if she has to kill him, she'll spare him twice. But before that happens, she notes how she cannot keep watching this stuff in the background as people are laughing. She'll need to teach him a lesson about what happens when they disrespect her. She flings the item right next to his face. The two servants stare in horror. Her family then asks what she is doing. She then walks right up. She grabs the knife from the wall, pointing that she is teaching him the exact hierarchy around here. This is one of the 3 ducal families in the Eisen Empire. The Duncan house is the only one without an ancestor that is revered as a hero. 500 years ago, one of the 5 heroes who sealed the demon god was crowned a king, and the heroes who fought beside him were granted high ranks. The descendants of those ancestors even now live under a halo of their ancestors and preserve their title and honor. Gabby notes how it's been 500 years, so there's really no way even a drop of the hero's blood remains in their veins. In high society, there is a subtle gaze that often looks down on the Duncan household as a step below. Gabby questions, so what if they have famous ancestors? On the other side, the Duncan family not having a heroic ancestor makes them greater. They have earned this ducal title through their own pure abilities. Gabby at this age has become a swordmaster. The old man has failed as a father but is a seasoned warrior. The Duncan house is truly great, but has one blemish. Just at that point we hear a yell. Someone asks what Isabella is doing as she throws her drink. Isabella tells the girl her dress looks like hers. A mere count's daughter cannot copy the dress of a duke. People in the background all call this vulgar. They call her vicious and ignorant. As dumb as she is capable of causing trouble. A delinquent that will never go a day without causing trouble. That's what Gabby had thought. Then we hear a cry again as Gabby looks. She's now pointing a knife at a servant. The Duke questions what on earth she is doing. Gabby notes how the old man will kick her out the house at this rate. Even Gabby questions her actions aloud right now. They tell her to put the knife down and apologize. She asks them why she should. If she were to do that, then the attendant will never realize his mistake. They will get cocky and continue to blatantly disrespect her. She shouts to Gabriel and asks if she is someone who deserves to be ignored. He is silent and stunned by this question. He notes how she is right and how no noble would apologize to a commoner over this. To think about how she's treated in high society and her standing in the family, it's no wonder the servants would look down on her. She must be thinking it's only a matter of time before father abandons her. He had thought so too. Isabella, someone too shameful for him to call his blood, and a sister who's an obstacle in his path. But no matter how poor her conduct is, she is still a direct member of Duncan and should not be disrespected by outsides. Gabby then wonders if he was wrong to ignore all those stares and snickers. Should he have at least warned them once? If he had stood by her, would things have gone a little different? He is silent thinking about all this. Isabella wonders why Gabby has not said anything. The Duke sighs fine. He says she is right and that a member of the ducal family should not be looked down upon by a servant. Not yet. She asks what punishment she wants to give the attendant who disrespected her. She then says she wishes to separate his head from his body with this sword. Gabby calls her a lunatic and asks what the hell she's gonna do with that blade. She mentions how it's possible with enough effort. Gabby tells her to not put in that kind of effort. The Duke then tells the both of them to stop this, and wonders how his only 2 children have turned out this way. He notes how if only his wife was still alive, would they have grown up like this. He may not be the most affectionate father, but he still did raise them to enjoy the privileges of a ducal house. He then tells Isabella her joke has gone too far. No matter how noble she is, she cannot take a commoner's life. She notes how it was not a joke. The Duke says that those who dared mock her will never work in a circle like this again and to drive them out. He then says that's enough for dinner as he is tired of both of them. Isabella says she is not done and tells someone to bring more wine. She then continues to eat as the servants all watch. Later she takes a lay on her bed in her room. She notes how her mana has once again increased after dinner. There have only been 2 times this has happened, and both times Gabby was present. It might be related to him after all. She notes how if she had a diary, she could understand this already, and wonders what the girl was doing all this time not writing one. She does not know, but then decides to sleep. Later we see a banquet is going down. Our female lead wonders what this situation is in front of her. She notes how, judging by the way they're dressed, it's like a courtship ritual for breeding. She notes how she was definitely just lying in bed right before. People then start to laugh and mention how the infamous Lady Isabella is here. They call her that delinquent. She ponders how her body is moving on her own right now. People then question if they know why Isabella had her debutante so late. Normally it's customary for the family to escort you. She could not get escorted by her family. She has a father and brother, so this is proof she is hated. This is because Lady Isabella had devoured her mother when she was born. It might have been better had she not been born. The cup in Lady Isabella's hand moves. The lady with the fan looks in astonishment. All the other women in the back also stare in disbelief. A large cry is heard as Isabella asks them to say that again, and to say it to her face. The annoying female asks what on earth is she doing. People then start to whisper about how it's Lady Isabella again, and what her problem is. She's got a pretty face, but her demeanor is totally crazy. Our female lead holds her empty cup of wine in silence. She then blurts out how the woman's dress is just like hers. A mere count cannot go copying the dress worn by a duke's daughter. People then mention how unbelievable and vulgar this is. They mention how she's a disgraceful brat as her brother turns his head away. People talk about how the young duke ignores her and how she's so low class she's bound to get kicked out. They all can't even stand to look at her. All this causes our dear Isabella to get enraged. We hear the chants being recited. She walks out of the room, down the hall by herself, and pleads for someone. She looks out the window and pleads for them to just help her. She then stares at someone with red hair. Her eyes then open wide. She is turned upside down in bed. She then calls that Isabella girl foolish. She notes how if that girl was going to do something she cannot handle in the first place, then she should not have done it. Sniveling behind everyone's back is driving our demons insane. Our female lead calls this an unpleasant dream as a maid then arrives. The maid mentions how what the female lead has drawn is blasphemy against him. She notes how the human must be referring to the heavenly God, to which our female lead says he loves blasphemy. The maid notes how the lady has truly lost her mind, to which Isabella mentions how the maid has a habit of making cheeky comments. The maid mentions how blasphemy is forbidden and even the emperor can get burned for it. She tells the lady she may be a noble but to please be careful. Our female lead then wonders how getting burned is a punishment. She would regularly enjoy bathing in sulfur flames all the time. She recalls how it was warm and pleasant as the maid notes how the lady has weird thoughts again. She ushers for the lady to please eat breakfast. Our female lead asks if there is meat, to which the maid says that eating meat in the morning will upset the stomach. Our female lead then hopes out of bed and says meat is always right. The maid says she will bring the lady more then. Isabella is later seated and staring at a wide selection of food. The maid points how she brought the newspaper as well. She asks the maid if she looks like someone who reads newspapers. The maid says no, but that the crown prince is on it today. Isabella asks what that has to do with her, to which the maid says Isabella likes him. There's no need to search since he's printed in huge sizes. Our maid stares and notes how she guesses he looks decent. Our female lead questions if she likes him as the maid then screams, "My lady." The maid mentions how saying this is an insult to the imperial family as our female lead notes how there's so many rules about insults. Our female lead says he's no longer her type. Baddie check on God. The maid recalls the memory loss before asking what the lady's type is. Our female lead then has the thought of a man holding a white bird in his hand. She says she likes a pure white soul. The maid questions if the lady is referring to a person's inner self. The lady tells the maid to think whatever she wants. The demon notes how she recalled something she'd rather not think about, the first human soul she ever desired. To claim that soul, she made her first contract with a human, and the end of it was, she then holds onto her chest and starts to breathe heavily. She tells herself that is enough and how it's all in the past. She then decides to read the newspaper, and notes how to keep up with this world. Nothing beats the newspaper. The Eisen Empire used to once be a kingdom, and the human Isabella just had to live here. What a coincidence. She notes how this article is about a diplomatic event. The crown prince named Adrian Martin is there. The maid who is cleaning the window then feels a gust of wind. Our female lead notes how if it's Martin then she knows it well. Her eyes stare deeply as she then recalls the name Zachary Martin, her first contractor from 500 years ago. how he held her hand and stared back up at her, and the one who had betrayed her, which also means this crown prince must be that guy's descendant. She crumples up the newspaper. The maid notes how this is also an insult to the imperial family. She tells Jessie to take this away, as the maid is in tears. Our female lead tells herself to get a grip, and so what if he's that man's descendant? She cannot stay shackled by something that happened 500 years ago. Right now she needs to fulfill Isabella's wish. That's the top priority. She should not get involved with this crown prince. Later we see an invitation handed to her. She with anger grits her teeth as it says Imperial Ball. She says she is not going. The maid tells her how even as a noble she cannot ignore the imperial family. She mentions how it might affect her reputation. Our female lead ponders the thought and recalls that dream. That one daughter of a count who was disrespectful. Our female lead notes how someone must be behind how strongly that girl insulted a noble. Our female lead decides to access her surroundings then. She tells the maid she'll go. The maid says they'll get the dress ready then. The maid mentions how bad the dress and accessories situation is. The female lead mentions how there's plenty of dresses over there, to which the maid says they've been worn before and how people will whisper if she wears it again. The lady says to buy a new one then, to which the maid says the lady caused so much trouble lately her budget was withdrawn. They can't even afford the shoes anymore. Our female lead notes how she once had the greatest wealth and authority in the demon realm and is now being told she is poor. She then tells Jessie she will become rich. The maid questions how, to which she says she will need to go seize someone else's property. That's the most devil-like method. We later see a carriage moving in the forest. The lady mentions how no one stopped her this time from going, since she has restored discipline in the house. The maid then asks where they are headed. The carriage then comes to a stop. We see the lady step out on her own. The maid looks for a moment as she then mentions how this is the slums. The lady tells the maid she does not have to follow her from here. The maid mentions how something terrible could happen and how two is better than one. The lady continues to walk, as the maid asks why they came here, to which Isabella says it is best to raid those that won't cause trouble later. The maid then questions why they are raiding the slums as the lady shuts the maid's mouth. The lady says she is looking to make a big score, and how she knows the perfect target. The lady then looks up before tossing a fork really fast at something. It almost hits the tail of a creature that lets out a squeak. It had almost hit some kind of a rodent. The maid calls to the lady as Isabella then grabs the rodent from the ground. She then tells the creature to take her to its master. The rodent does exactly that as we see the two girls following it. It then stops at a hole in the wall. The maid asks how the lady knows all this, to which our female lead kicks the door down and says it's a trade secret. The door opens before them. We see many men just chilling and having a drink. She walks right up to the man behind the counter. He tells her she is not from the slums. He asks what brings her here, to which she says she has no business with rats. She is here to meet the king of this place. She says to take her to their master. The man says he is in the basement. The lady tells Jessie to stay there. The maid says to be quick as Our Lady goes down the stairs. She later notes how far they're going and how she'll need to be cautious. The man says she can enter this door. She then warns the man to not lay a hand on the child that came here also. If anyone touches her, then they'll neither live nor die. The man takes this threat seriously. She then tells him to get lost. Our female lead continues on her own, noting how the king of rats, Ser, he has little power and is low ranked in the demon world. He's too prideful to serve a stronger demon. He abandoned the demon world and chose to control rats, living as an informant. She notes not having seen him in a while and how it's been 100 years. She then sees him standing alone in the room. She then greets him by saying she thought the angels had caught him and skinned him alive. Ser calls this an audacious way of speaking, but it was expected from Lady Isabella. He asks what brings her here and in the body of Lady Duncan. The lady says circumstances arose, and that she came to him. The man questions how a rule ended up in a human body. He says he is just curious, and unless he's mistaken, he can hardly sense any magic from her. It's as if her magic is sealed. She warns him to watch him tone, to which he questions how he could be so rude to Lady Bella. He continues to hold her hair, as she mentions how most of her power is sealed. He stares at her blankly, before grabbing his face and saying but he knows. She then slams his head on the table. She then puts a blade right next to him on the table. Even with this much magic, she can still wipe him out in an instant. He questions her if that's a kitchen knife, to which she says yes. He asks if she is insane and if this is possible with that. She tells him a master does not choose their tools. He tells her to wait and mentions how he was joking. How could he dare go against her? She is under the Demon King's protection, so how can someone like him? He does not dare to face the aftermath of that. Isabella notes how that's true and how Lilith would not sit back if someone harmed her. Ser says it's tough being a demon without backing. 2 cups of tea are then seen. He then tells her to hold on, and questions how all this happened and no one noticed. The Duncans have not realized? She says that's right, to which he mentions how her way of speaking is different. The lady says the original body owner was a delinquent, so no one questions this. Ser then mentions how the girl was connected to demon worshippers. Lady Isabella questions if those vermin still exist, to which Ser says he confirmed it. These are humans that betray their own kind to side with demons, even since 500 years ago. Not knowing that demons hate them. They're vermin who all have selfish desires. Isabella notes how she cannot forget the horrors she saw in that lair once. They even messed with children, which even demons don't touch. Ser mentions how she really seems to hate them, to which Isabella says she never messed with the young. She mentions how they're cockroaches and she'd tear them apart. Ser mentions how Isabella got her summoning circle from a worshipper. Our female lead notes how that's one question answered. She then asks if Ser can contact the demon world. We then see an orb that is sitting on the table. He starts to mess with it using his powers. He tells her it's not working and she asks what about the gate. It's a semi-permanent door who cannot create dimensional passages on their own. Connects the demon world to the mid-realm. It always changes spots so angels can't find it. Ser says it's been closed for a while. Isabella mentions how if the connection with the demon realm is cut off then someone's involved. Ser says it might be the work of the person who sealed Lady Bella. A demon would never make a deal at a loss. According to the contract, Isabella's soul would have been taken, but sealing a high-ranking demon like her in this body is worth more than a human soul. Yet they sealed her here and did not reveal the contract terms. That means they want her trapped for a long time, and to keep her from returning to the demon realm. Ser says this is strange, and asks how she could not know about this deal since she's the Lord of Contracts. It's a contract made using her powers. Our female lead thinks about this. 500 years ago, after being betrayed by her first contractor Zachary, she lost most of her power and became the weakest being in the demon realm. Her powers would eventually return, but until then it was impossible to survive. So she gave a part of her authority to other lords in exchange for magical powers. The lords in turn gained the authority to freely make a single contractor. So this was the first person she had suspected when she woke up. Sarah then laughs, asking if it's really possible for them to use her contract without her permission. She asks if he wants to know. She says she can tell, but if the secret gets out she'll kill him. He mentions how he feels like he's back in the demon realm, getting his life threatened more than once today. Isabella then speaks up and mentions how she was so busy she forgot to worry about Comanche. That is her pet beast. Sarah says it's a cute name for such a vicious beast. She wonders who will feed him, to which Sarah just hopes other demons don't get eaten by it. She then says she wants to bring her pet to the middle realm. Sarah says that is dangerous and how the gate is closed and Bella's powers are sealed. She questions who knows, and says this is for him to figure out. He looks at her stunned. He calls this absurd and mentions how it is tyranny. She then mentions how she almost forgot why she came here and puts her hand out. She then with a smile tells him to hand over all his money. Later we see Jessie with a smile on her face. The lady then shows off her bag of 100 gold coins. Jessie asks if she actually stole this, to which our female lead wonders if it actually was stolen. She kept asking for more as Sarah pleaded about how he runs an information network. She tells him she'll have no choice but to return for more next time. She then turns and notes how most of the people here work for Sarah, so she should maintain some dignity. She tells Jessie she sold some information like Duncan's family secrets. Jessie is stunned by this. She mentions how she said Gabby sleeps with his thumb in his mouth, stuff like that. Jessie asks who would pay for that, to which Isabella says it's funny. Jessie says who would have thought the young Duke does that. Isabella then tells the maid they need to head to the next destination. Jessie says 100 is more than enough for a banquet though. Isabella says someone like her cannot be satisfied with something this small. She'll flip this 20 times in one go. She shouts the next stop is the casino. Jessie threatens if she goes to the gambling den she will tell the Duke. Unbothered, she challenges her to tell him. Jessie warns her the Duke hates gambling the most. If he finds out she was gambling, she will really get kicked out. Suddenly, her senses sharpen. She thinks bitterly that this little pest is stuck to her too. Some men appear and one of them asks what are the ladies doing in such a shabby place, knives in their hands, as one of them says want him to explain the rules here. The richer they are, the more quietly they should move. The one beside him points out carrying a fat purse around just makes the whole neighborhood noisy. Jessie blurts out, "My lady, what are they going to do?" She deadpans, "What now?" Step 1 is to knock Jessie unconscious because it is noisy. Second step is to overpower the robbers, and third is to seize the money the robbers have collected. With a smug smile, she decides to do it that way. One of the men steps forward with an evil smile, saying if she hands over everything quietly, he will spare their lives. But he cannot guarantee they will come out of this unscathed. He is unaware she is hiding a sharp knife behind her back. He inches closer, deciding to check money pouch first. Just as she decides to attack him, suddenly a man comes in from nowhere in between and fixes his cold eyes on the robber. It takes him only moments to knock everyone out cold. Then, with an air of nonchalance, he turns to her. She gulps down, her eyes fixed on him. He's strong. Jessie suddenly steps forward in front of her and exclaims thank you for saving them. She then turns to her and says she should thank quickly too. She grumbles thank you, as if she's doing him a favor, thinking if it weren't for him, she could have robbed the thief's pouches herself useless. He coldly warns her this place is dangerous, so she should hurry and leave. Her lips part in shock. This clear, refreshing aura is. He simply turns around, announcing he will be going now. Quickly, she seizes his cloak and draws it off, unveiling his face. He meets her gaze, his blue eyes piercing into hers. Zachary's. Without a word, he covers his head again and walks away. Jessie whines such rudeness towards her lifesaver, but she murmurs it is silver hair. When she sees silver hair, she feels anger welling up. It used to be something she thought was beautiful, but now even the memory is disgusting. She mutters under her breath. She has lost interest. She will return to the Duke's mansion. Later, standing before the Duke in his study room while he focuses on the papers in his hands, she wonders why did he call him just to ignore her. She thinks what an annoying person, but then her gaze shifts to the necklace on the table. It somehow looks familiar. Out of nowhere, he says she still hasn't come to her senses. Has she forgotten how her reckless actions almost ruined that necklace, her mother's keepsake? She wonders, was there such a thing? In any case, it looks fine to her now. So what? He's just a grumpy, petty person with a bad attitude. He heard she went out today without telling him and without her bodyguard. She asks, worried? He replies no way. If she causes trouble again, who's going to clean it up afterward? Just as she thought. He lets out a sigh and takes off his glasses, admitting that is not why he called her now. She received the invitation to the royal ball right. Normally she would have to be in seclusion, but thanks to the courtesy of Marquis Clement's family, she will be allowed to attend. She recognizes Marquis Clement's family as the family of Lady Clement who Isabella tried to poison. He then says by agreement, the Marquis family will cover this matter up so she won't have to stand trial. Instead, after the ball, she must visit the Marquis family and beg for forgiveness. She scoffs, why should she? In the first place, are they sure Isabella is really the culprit? How would Isabella even get her hands on poison? The first thing she did after ending up in this body was assess the surroundings. And the only servant close to her was Jessie, who has only been attending her for a short while. On top of that, the Duke cut off her funds so she wouldn't even have money to buy poison. Besides, why should she clean up a mess that Isabella caused? She starts to protest. Why should she beg? But he cuts her off, adding she will personally deliver the documents for the diamond mine they agreed to give a settlement. The moment she hears about the diamond mine, something shifts. She quickly leans in, all eager now, saying she will go right away since it is something she did. It's only right that she goes and asks for forgiveness. On her way back, she wonders if he really mentioned the diamond mine. Diamonds, a mineral found only in the middle realm, and not even her treasury in the demon realm has one, an actual mine. She absolutely has to get her hands on this. The Duke believes that Isabella attempted to commit murder by poison. That is probably why he is handing over the diamond mine as a settlement. From what she sees, this case smells fishy. Isabella is not the culprit. So what if she manages to prove she isn't? If she can get the Marquis family to confirm it, then there's no need to pay the settlement at all. She will just tell the Duke they settled it with the diamond mine, and if she tweaks a few things in between, she can swallow that diamond mine whole. A happy or rather satisfying ending for everyone. Then her thoughts shift. First, she needs proof she is not the culprit. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Cher suddenly gets goosebumps and wonders what is happening to him. He wonders, is someone thinking of walking him to the bone? He then wonders if something like yesterday is going to happen again. Just as he begins to say, the only one who would think of swinging me around like this is, he doesn't get to finish before the door bursts open. Isabella steps in, telling him he has another job to do. She instructs him to get information on the Marquis Clement family, especially about poison, and to see if anyone in the Marquis household has recently purchased any poison, and if so, what kind of poison it was. Cher asks if this is because of the rumors this time and if she thinks the culprit is someone else. She replies she is certain, but the Duke doesn't think so. He guesses everyone will be convinced Isabella Donkard is the culprit, but, she counters, Isabel Dinkard doesn't have the ability resources for that. Anyone with a bit of sense could figure it out, so she doesn't know why everyone blindly believes it. He tells her that to know she needs to understand what the public knows about Isabella Donkard. The stain of House Donkard, the family's black. House Donkard is a famous family that has produced exceptional talents for generations. But Isabella Donkard, compared to that reputation, was lacking. She had no talent in martial arts. For someone so ordinary, living among such remarkable family members must have been hard. Isabella scoffs remarkable? That Gabby guy was stupid though. Cher asks if she means Lord Gabriel, the young Duke. He was not particularly bright or good-tempered either, but he excelled in another way. He became the youngest swordmaster. His aura control was so precise they say he could use an aura instead of a toothpick. Isabella points out that aura only a rare few humans can manifest. Can he really do that? He replies, well, it is just a rumor, nothing confirmed. Isabella then reveals she heard from a maid that after the Duchess died, the family became distant from her, or was it because she had no ability so they rejected her? He replies the talk about her lack of talent is what people use to nitpick. The family discord was indeed because of the Duchess. After giving birth to Isabella, the Duchess's health sharply declined. She doesn't get it and questions, wasn't Isabella born as breeding stock for the Duke? Strictly speaking, it was the Duke's fault for not controlling himself. Her careless words make him jump in embarrassment. He wonders if he stayed in the Middle Realm too long, as hearing the Demon Realm's way of speaking again after so long, it's hard to get used to. He gets back to the topic, saying since her public image was already poor, nobody really cared about the truth when another bad rumor popped up. Unless she can show concrete proof, they won't believe otherwise. She says in that case, if the information he brings back is so solid, no one can deny it, so it will work. He flinches. He dug his own grave. He promises to try his best and asks what is the deadline. She replies by midnight on the day of the Imperial Ball. He screams what, pointing out the Imperial Ball is the day after tomorrow. She wants him to investigate and report back by midnight the day after tomorrow. She smiles and says why, think he cannot do it? He replies no, he actually likes being pushed to his limits. But then in a small rat-like voice, he points out he is an informant, a demon whose trade is buying and selling information. So what about his fee? She takes a calm breath before getting up and muttering she just paid it, his life. Now that she thinks about it, doesn't he have to return to the demon realm? She could speak to Lilith and find him a decent position. He appreciates the offer but admits he is more comfortable in the Middle Realm now. But she lets him know the Middle Realm will fall before long. She can feel the demon's god seal weakening. At most, the seal will last another 100 years. And when the demon god returns, the first thing he will destroy will be this Middle Realm where humans live. He knows that is true, as last time it tried to destroy the Middle Realm and got sealed away. He would rather go to the demon realm than stay here and lose his life for nothing. She flashes a smirk and says she just told him because she couldn't stand to watch that dear little rat die. He looks visibly offended, and then lets her know whatever the outcome, he will have the investigation done by the night after tomorrow. She wants him to keep in mind the more solid the evidence, the better. At night, as she sleeps in her room, a dream stirs in her mind. In it, Isabella tells Nadia, so she is going to get engaged like this? Nadia replies her brother is so adamant, she thinks she has no choice. Isabella scoffs. Brother? Oh, please. Even beasts don't sell their own family. If she wants something to change, sometimes she has to be willing to risk her life. Especially when she has nothing at all. She has to be prepared. Morning comes, and she wakes clutching her dress, heart pounding. Dreams are more dangerous than she thought. Even after waking up, the emotion she felt in them remained. When she dreams, it really feels like she has become Isabella Donkard. She reminds herself she has to snap out of it, to think she would still feel sympathy for a human after all that. But she guesses the dream wasn't entirely useless. They said she hated the Marquis's daughter enough to kill her, yet they seemed to be getting along instead. And Isabella couldn't endure the situation she was in. Born into a prestigious family, yet met with coldness and contempt from her relatives for having no talent. Just then, Jessie enters, having brought her meal. She looks at the vegetables before saying through gritted teeth there's no meat. Jessie exclaims, of course, tomorrow evening is the royal ball after all. She fires back, what does that have to do with her breakfast? Jessie says everything. If she wants her dress to look perfect, she has to start her diet now. She mutters nonsense and tells her to bring her meat. But then she says that is not all. She is completely determined this time, and this ball is the biggest event since she became her maid. As her maid, she will make her shine the brightest at the ball. Soon after, they find themselves in the washroom as she readies her for tomorrow, carefully massaging and tending to her. Jessie grabs an unwilling Isabella's hand and tells her to trust her.